Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive. This time, we're heading up north to British Columbia, to a place called the Golden Triangle.
A very exciting part of the world for mineral exploration.
We've gotten a ton of research on a property up there with a very bold name, the big one. We've got reports, maps, even a video someone sent us. So we're going to do our best to unpack all this information and figure out what makes this property so special.
Sounds good.
So let's start with the basics. Where exactly is the big one, and who's behind all this exploration?
All right, well, the big one is a massive property. We're talking over 33,000 hectares right in the heart of BC's Golden Triangle. And the group exploring it is called the Be All Syndicate. They're often referred to as the Syndicate.
The Syndicate, got it. So who are the Syndicate, and what's their game plan?
They're what's known as project generators. They go out and find these really promising areas, do some initial exploration to confirm their potential, and then they bring in partners to take it to the next level.
So they're kind of like the talent scouts of the mining world.
Yeah, exactly. And they've got a really impressive track record, especially in areas where glaciers are receding. They were involved in some major discoveries like Goliath Resources, Sherbet Gold Deposit, and Juggernaut Exploration's Bingo and Midas discoveries.
So they're betting that as these glaciers melt, they're going to uncover some incredible mineral riches. I can see why that would be a smart strategy.
Absolutely. It's like a whole new frontier is opening up, and the big one seems to be right in the sweet spot.
Okay, so we've got this massive property in a prime location being explored by a group with a proven track record of success. That's a pretty compelling start. But what about the big one itself? What makes this particular property stand out?
Well, it's got a surprisingly long history. Believe it or not, exploration here dates back to the 1960s. Prospectors back then found some really promising signs of gold, silver, and molybdenum. Some of the samples they took had gold grades of almost 17 grams per ton.
Hold on, 17 grams per ton. Isn't that incredibly high?
It is.
So why didn't they keep exploring back then? What happened?
Well, you got to remember, back then a lot of this area was still covered by glaciers, and the technology wasn't as advanced as it is today. Exploring on a glacier is a really tough and expensive proposition.
So it was a combination of limited access and technology that held them back.
Exactly. But now, as the glaciers recede, things are changing. Vast new areas are opening up, and exploration is becoming a lot more feasible.
It's like nature is slowly unveiling these hidden treasures. That's pretty cool. And the Syndicate is in the right place at the right time to capitalize on this. So tell me, what's the most exciting thing they've found so far?
One of the most exciting discoveries is what they're calling the Highway of Gold. It's this 11-kilometer stretch of newly exposed rock on the edge of the Geology Ridge ice field and the Decker Creek Glacier. It's part of a larger system called the Eldorado System, covering about 7.5 square kilometers.
Okay, wait. The Highway of Gold. Is this literally a road made of gold winding through the mountains? Help me visualize this.
Well, not literally a road paved with gold, but it's pretty impressive.
So what is it then?
It's an area with over 200 quartz sulfide veins. Some of these veins are massive, like up to 8 meters wide.
8 meters wide.
Yeah, think about that. That's like a small car driving straight through a vein of, potentially valuable minerals.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and they've analyzed samples from these veins, and the results are really impressive. Some of the samples had up to 79 grams of gold per ton.
Wow.
That's over 2 ounces of gold per ton, and some had over 3,000 grams of silver per ton.
Oh, wow. So this is why they call it the big one.
Yeah, and it gets even better. There was a geologist, Dr. Richard Kucera, who predicted back in 1990 that the source of those high-grade gold samples from the 1960s was likely located to the west, underneath the ice.
So he was basically saying, there's gold under there, but we can't get to it.
Yeah, pretty much. And guess what? He was right. Now that the ice has receded, we can see that this newly exposed area, the Highway of Gold, is right where he predicted it would be.
It's like they're solving a geological mystery.
That's what's so cool about it.
So the Highway of Gold is basically the heart of this Eldorado system, and it's chock full of these mineralized veins, all pointing toward a potential gold deposit.
Yeah.
But is there more to this Eldorado system than just the Highway of Gold? What else have they found there?
Well, there's a zone within the Eldorado system called the Eldorado Source, where they've found over 150 veins, including one massive 5-meter wide vein they've nicknamed the Whopper vein.
The Whopper vein, that's got a nice ring to it. What's so special about the Eldorado Source?
Well, first of all, those veins are loaded with chalcopyrite, galena, and sphalerite, and the assay results are incredible. They've found gold grades up to 79 grams per ton and silver grades over 3,000 grams per ton.
Wow, those are some serious numbers. So we've got this vast Eldorado system with a literal highway of gold running through it. And within that system, we've got the Eldorado source with some incredibly high-grade samples. But before we get too carried away with the Eldorado system, you mentioned there are other promising areas on the property.
There are indeed.
It sounds like we've got a lot more ground to cover.
We do, and they paint an even richer picture of this property's potential.
Okay, I'm ready to uncover more of these potential hotspots. Where should we head next?
Well, let's move eastward to Eldorado East.
Eldorado East, okay.
It's a large area of newly exposed rock that's showing some really promising signs. Stream sediment samples from Eldorado East have revealed gold values up to 960 parts per billion.
960 parts per billion. Whoa, that's a lot of gold. So they're finding that right in the streams.
Yeah, basically. And to add to that, magnetic surveys in Eldorado East show multiple high anomalies, perfectly aligned with the areas where they found those high gold values in the streams.
So two separate pieces of evidence pointing towards potential gold deposits in Eldorado East. High gold concentrations in the stream sediments and those magnetic anomalies suggesting something interesting beneath the surface. And you're telling me this area is largely unexplored.
Largely unexplored, that's right. And Eldorado East is just one example. West of there, we have Eldorado West and Titan. Both of these areas are showing similar promise.
Okay, so Eldorado West and Titan. What's the story there?
Remember those magnetic and electromagnetic anomalies we talked about earlier?
The ones that were covered by ice.
Exactly. Well, in Eldorado West and Titan, a number of those anomalies are now exposed, and they coincide with large Gaussian outcrops.
Okay, Gaussian outcrops. For those of us who don't speak geologist, what exactly are those and why are they so exciting?
Gaussian outcrops are basically rusty caps on the surface. They form when mineral deposits are exposed to weathering and oxidation.
So it's like nature's giving us a visual clue saying, hey, there might be something valuable down here.
Exactly. And to make it even more intriguing, the Syndicate has found float samples near those prominent EM anomalies in Eldorado West and Titan that contain significant amounts of chalcopyrite and pyrite in quartz veins.
Chalcopyrite and pyrite. Two more of those minerals we like to hear about when we're talking about gold. Okay, so we've got high-grade stream samples in Eldorado East, Gaussian outcrops coinciding with EM anomalies in Eldorado West and Titan, and all of this is just scratching the surface. But there was another area you mentioned that had a particularly interesting name, the Payday Zones. Tell me about those.
There are 3 distinct payday zones on the property. Each zone's unique, but they all have multiple lines of evidence suggesting they hold great potential for gold.
All right, walk me through these payday zones ready for a geological payday. What have they found in each zone?
So Payday 1, it's a large area where soil samples have revealed high gold concentrations. They've also found grab samples from quartz veins there with gold grades up to 0.14 grams per ton. And they're observing those hydrothermal and epithermal textures in the outcrops.
Okay, hydrothermal and epithermal textures. For the non-geologists out there, break that down for us. What does that mean and why is it important?
Those textures tell us that hot, mineral-rich fluids flowed through those rocks at some point in the past. And this is a key process in forming gold deposits.
So Payday 1 has those telltale signs of hydrothermal activity, which is a good indicator for gold. What about Payday 2 and 3? What makes them stand out?
Well, Payday 2 is vast and remains largely unexplored, but it has multiple Gaussian outcrops in the headwaters of those high-grade gold drainages we talked about earlier.
I see. And Payday 3?
Payday 3 is another large area with its own set of Gaussians and a history of high gold grades in both stream sediment and soil samples.
So all 3 Payday zones have their own unique characteristics, but they all point towards the potential for gold mineralization. It's fascinating how each piece of the puzzle seems to fit together.
It really is. And there are 2 more areas I want to highlight before I move on. Motherload and Showtime both have revealed some really impressive geological features.
Motherload. The name itself sounds promising. What have they found there?
Well, Motherload is characterized by numerous sulfide-rich quartz veins, some up to 50 centimeters thick, with plenty of chalcopyrite and pyrite. And just like in Payday 1, they're seeing those classic hydrothermal and epithermal textures, suggesting those hot, mineral-rich fluids played a role in forming this zone.
It seems like Motherload is living up to its name, offering another potential source of gold on this already impressive property. What about Showtime? What makes it so special?
Showtime features sulfide-bearing veins right at the headwaters of a creek, known for its high gold values in stream sediment samples. The gold values here reach up to 100 parts per billion. Additionally, this gold-bearing drainage aligns with a prominent northeast trending geological structure and a strong magnetic high anomaly.
Okay, I think I'm starting to see a pattern here. Everywhere we look on this property, there's evidence of gold mineralization. And each area has multiple lines of evidence converging to support that potential. It's like they've stumbled upon a geological wonderland.
That's a great way to put it. But remember, we've only just scratched the surface. There's still so much more to uncover at the big one.
So much potential, so much to explore. It's truly remarkable.
Mm-hmm.
For example, there's an area called the Spot-On Zone, and it's living up to its name.
Okay, spot on. I like it already. What's so special about this zone?
It shows a really strong electromagnetic anomaly, which suggests a large concentration of conductive minerals like sulfides, the kind that often come with gold and silver. And to add to the intrigue, we're seeing Gaussian outcrops in the area. But let's zoom out for a second. We've been talking about all these different zones within the Big One property, but we got to remember that it's all part of this much bigger system, the Golden Triangle. And that's where things get really interesting.
You're right. The big one isn't some isolated incident. The same geological forces that created those monster deposits at Galore Creek, KSM, and Brucejack, they were at work here too.
So we're talking about a potential gold mine sitting right next door to some of the biggest, most impressive mineral deposits in the world.
And what's even more exciting is that we're seeing a lot of similarities between the Big One and Galore Creek. Specifically, there's a lot of evidence pointing towards a common porphyry feeder source for the mineralization.
Okay, porphyry feeder source. Now that sounds important. Remind me what that is.
So imagine this massive underground plumbing system, right? A porphyry system is kind of like that. It can transport copper and gold from deep within the earth up towards the surface. And what we're seeing at the big one, it suggests that it could be connected to one of these huge porphyry systems.
Wow, that's a game changer. So the big one, it might just be the tip of the iceberg, a small piece of something much bigger, a much richer mineral system. This is mind-blowing stuff. But with all this potential, what's next for the big one? What does the Syndicate need to do to unlock all this value?
Well, they definitely need to keep exploring, do more work to figure out just how big and how rich this mineralization really is.
So we're talking more boots on the ground, right?
Yeah.
More mapping, more sampling.
Yeah, exactly. Things like more extensive soil sampling, rock chip sampling, trenching, that kind of stuff. It's all about getting a better understanding of what's happening under the surface.
Yeah.
And then if the results keep looking good, well, drilling would be the next step.
Drilling, the moment of truth. That's where things get real. But I imagine drilling in a place like the Golden Triangle, with the terrain and how remote it is, that can't be easy.
Oh, it definitely comes with its challenges, for sure. But the rewards, well, they can be huge. And with the glaciers melting, opening up more and more areas, well, the possibilities are, pretty much endless.
That's what makes this whole story so fascinating, right? It's this mix of scientific discovery and exploration and, well, a little bit of adventure thrown in too. But for those of us who aren't geologists or investors, why should we care about what's happening at the big one? What's the bigger picture here?
That's a great question. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of the treasure hunt, but the potential impact of a project like the big one, well, it goes way beyond just finding gold.
Okay, so break it down for me. Why should I care?
Well, think about all the metals we've been talking about. Copper, zinc, lead, gold, silver. Those are the building blocks of our modern world, right? They're essential for everything. Our phones, our cars, renewable energy, medical devices. I mean, the list goes on and on.
So responsible mining, it's not just about digging up rocks. It's about contributing to a sustainable future for all of us.
Exactly. And it's not just about the metals themselves. Projects like this, they create jobs, they stimulate investment, they boost the economy, especially in places like the Golden Triangle, which, has this long history of mining.
It's pretty amazing to think about, isn't it? Those little clues scattered across a remote mountain range, well, they could one day lead to, these incredible advancements that benefit us all.
It really is.
This has been an amazing journey, and I want to thank you for being here to, walk us through it all.
Happy to do it. It's been a lot of fun.
And to everyone listening, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the big one. We hope you've enjoyed uncovering its secrets as much as we have.
And remember, as those glaciers keep melting away, they're not just revealing these stunning landscapes, they're also unlocking these geological secrets that have been hidden for, well, who knows how long. I mean, who knows what other big ones are out there just waiting to be discovered.
That's an incredible thought, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a good reminder that our planet is still full of surprises, and there's always more to explore, more to learn. Until next time, happy exploring, everyone.